Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here in our studios in downtown Lansing, which is one of those places that's almost like a road trip for us anymore because we don't all get here. And it's the first time we've had more than one person in the studio at a time in quite a while, but it's because it's a special occasion. We have one of our favorite, certainly our favorite economists, but one of our favorite people, Kurt Rankin from PNC, and he's coming to us from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kurt, welcome back to the show. It's very good to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Chris, and thank you for that introduction.
Well, listen, Bud, since you're a little bit south of us, the obvious question is, are you playing golf today?
I imagine I could. It's sunny out and it's going to be over 40 degrees, so it is possible.
You're absolutely right. Time to call for your tea time. We got holiday sales coming up, Kurt, and I know that you guys take a very close look at that. Tell me a little bit about that. But with COVID-19 in there and so many different variables, everybody's worried about holiday sales.
Sure. We've got an economy that's ready and capable to spend. We've seen that throughout the pandemic. As businesses closed, of course, revenue was lost by retailers, by leisure and hospitality establishments. But as soon as openings started up, even in limited capacity, that money was spent. The money from stimulus checks, we saw a savings rate go up to 30% and then drop in half, and looks to be dropping further. But how much leisure and hospitality will be available given that COVID cases are currently on the rise? And will confidence be strong enough to not only keep sales where they are, but boost them into the holiday season? That depends on whether Congress looks capable of acting before the end of the year.
Now, what does Congress need to do? I guess that's the question.
What would incentivize consumers to spend more than they already will? Now, beating last year's sales numbers growth-wise will not be a high hurdle. It was not a strong, exceptionally strong growth year for holiday sales last year. But in order to clear those numbers, in order to really see consumer spending spike into the holiday season, even with savings that accumulated over the summer and the fall, would be some sort of stimulus that actually sent money directly to consumers. What businesses could hope for in terms of targeted stimulus to help businesses that are suffering because they simply have no way to bring in revenue as businesses are closed by government mandate, that's going to help to create jobs. But consumer spending, holiday spending, is going to depend on consumer confidence, and that's going to be driven by direct payments to households, as we saw out of the first stimulus bill.
Well, and when we think retail and certainly holiday retail, we think about the hustle and bustle of walking into a store and getting in line and paying for things. Where are these retail sales going to come? What's the kind of distribution channel?
Well, one of the things that we've seen in the pandemic is an acceleration towards all things online. Retail sales was no exception there, and we'll see that again this year. The traditional Black Friday thing, for better or worse, the on-site Black Friday is certainly not going to happen in its traditional sense this year. We'll see a lot more online spending. That doesn't mean we'll see any less spending. It's possible to buy just as much when you're sitting at your computer and shopping as it is to go out when you go out and buy. What suffers, I think, especially in metropolitan areas as opposed to more rural areas, whenever this occurs, is the leisure and hospitality space. Because when you're out shopping, you're out for the day, especially for holidays, you're out for the day, you may be having a good time of it. You're going to go out and you're going to have a drink, you're going to go out and eat somewhere, lunch, maybe even dinner as well. And that's where we lose some of that revenue for leisure and hospitality, as opposed to the retailers, which are still going to see their spending.
This is one of the most interesting topics and speculative, and I'm probably going to have you respond to this anecdotally. But my worry is for the retailer whose walk-in trade may not rebound. That backs up a whole bunch of systems. If the retailers don't have storefronts, there's not tax base to run your schools and a lot of other things. What's your thought on that?
Well, Amazon is, generally Amazon is the worry there, and it's a legitimate concern because they're just such a large player that just like Walmart and those sort of larger stores pushed out smaller pushed out smaller retailers during that phase. This new online phase, Amazon looks to be a dominant player as well. So local tax bases, that's a concern. That's also jobs being lost. Those wages being lost. That's where you have a virtuous cycle of spending locally, creating local jobs, creating more incomes that can then spend locally again. That gets reversed whenever we see jobs lost to online and any sort of automated developments. And unfortunately, the pandemic has accelerated that, not just in online shopping, but things like manufacturing, transportation, warehousing, those sort of higher paying jobs.
I have to tell you, I totally agree with you. And as a reminder that this shop local thing, I think is really important to pay attention to, because imagine the day you go to your little downtown district and half the stores are empty. That's a disastrous circumstance.
Well, you asked for anecdotes. That's something that in Pittsburgh we have dealt with in the past. The decline of the steel mills, and the towns like I'm from saw in past times very busy storefronts downtown, basically these days and for several decades now being deserted. So it's possible to happen whenever you see an industry go down as a result of a major change. And if anything is a black swan, if anything is an exogenous shock that can cause something like that, it's this pandemic.
Well, Kurt Rankin, Vice President and Economist for the PNC Financial Services Group out of Pittsburgh. Always good to see you, my friend. Even at the holidays, keep them in the fairway and stay safe.
Thanks, you too, Chris. Take care.
All right. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman. Stick around. There's a lot